to the Behind the Drapes podcast.
Behind the Drapes, man.
Expo Rich.
That kind of sounds like stranger danger. Behind the Drapes,
when you're walking by, you might get grabbed behind the drapes. Welcome, George Jage of Jage Media.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate you being here today. And the purpose of this podcast is to learn a little bit more about the people that are building the things in our industry.
Sure.
You know, and I know we know each other quite a while now. And
for a minute.
Yeah, and you know, you've done it once or twice. So
a couple of times.
Yeah. So I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to have you here and be able to be on today. So.
Well, thank you. I'm trying to figure out what the lesson I'm supposed to learn of, like, every time I go into these very early markets and build trade shows for them, and it's just like, I don't know why I keep subjecting myself to such punishment.
You enjoy pain.
I must. I think it's actually I've done a self-assessment that I figured out that I actually operate in chaos really well. Which then makes me wonder, like, am I the reason that I create the chaos that I operate in so well? But anyways, I'm sorry. Let's go with the interview.
Yeah, no worries. So I always like to start out with the origin story. How did you set foot on your first trade show, or how did you get involved with the industry?
Man.
Your first
All
time?
right, folks. I'm going to give you the abridged version. I got kicked out of college for taking my friend's math class, and then went to help my dad with his struggling business, and we started a trade show and knew nothing about it, right? So had I not taken math from my friend, I probably would be in the trade show industry. But anyways,
So your father was working in the industry or had a trade show?
No, he had an off-price apparel business where he would liquidate end-of-season manufacturers' goods. The off-price guys are liquidating manufacturers' inventory, so they weren't really welcome in the manufacturers' apparel show known as Magic.
Right.
So they all kind of independently, like, booked suites and rooms over at the Hilton Hotel back in the day, right next to the convention center. And my dad was concerned that Magic was going to take over the Hilton, and they'd all be out in the street, and they wouldn't be in Las Vegas when all the buyers are there for their business. So he tried to organize everybody to see if they would form an association to start a trade show. Everybody's like, no, Mikey, I've known him for years. He's not going to kick me out of my space at the Hilton. They're all gamblers too, right?
Yeah.
So they had, casino hosts. And lo and behold, Magic took over the convention space, the Hilton's convention space for, I think they added on a child's expo or a child's clothing component. And the other jobbers came back and like, hey, really good idea. We should start an association. We're like, nope, we already booked space. So we did our very first show at renting out 3 floors of the Debbie Reynolds Hotel, Casino, and Movie Museum.
Oh, wow.
They had 2 blackjack tables in the casino, and Debbie performed nightly.
Oh, wow.
It's gone. It used to be the paddle wheel, and then at one point it was Vince McMahon's WWE Hotel.
Oh, no.
And I think it was the Greek Isles Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it was just like, it was really like, I think a lot of people that, going back 20 or 30 years that came into the space was really to fulfill that unmet need, not necessarily that they were coming at it saying, hey, let's do a trade show, right? It was more about, like, they maybe had a print magazine serving a community, or they were a member of that community in the industry and realized that if they could build this event and create that type of economies of scale and that efficiency of meeting with that many people face to face in a short period of time, all business transactions are built on trust.
Yeah.
And you can't establish trust until you get a chance to sit down, read somebody's body language, and actually interact with them. Like, it just doesn't work the same way in our kind of two-dimensional world that we're moving into, where everything's on Zoom calls, right? So,
for sure.
And
when you make these personal connections, people want to do business with people they like and trust.
100%. And it's interesting. So in the off-price apparel industry, like, everybody's company was like so-and-so and Sons, or the guy's name or everything. Everybody lived and died by the deal. So they needed to negotiate everything. Like, it was just inherently in their nature to, like, you couldn't even just say hello, it's a good day outside, with not having to negotiate what the weather's like, right? So that was fascinating from a business experience.
Yeah.
When my wife and I launched World Tea Expo and built that show up, it was also fascinating. I mean, like, we were able to build these friendships with people from all over the world, from India and Kenya and Taiwan and Sri Lanka, South Africa, and, like, places that don't necessarily have an abundance of wealth, but the people there are so happy, genuinely kind and happy people. And just really help a lot of these small independent, tea room owners that, probably weren't good business people, like, discover
about tea
and help them lift them up. And so, again, tremendous friendships in that space. We still have, friends of ours that call us up and come to our house and send our kids Christmas gifts that they don't need. So stop sending the Christmas gifts, Beth. And then when I moved into the cannabis space, and I built MJ BizCon, and then now building MJ Unpacked, and we're launching another show called Hemp Beverage Expo in Atlanta in July. The cannabis industry, I mean, there is a element of legacy here that a lot of these people came from the legacy market and dealt drugs and worked outside of the confines of law. They didn't necessarily have a book of business ethics.
Right.
You know, kind of, hey, like we joke around. It's like, yeah, our sales policies, first one's free. You know, like there's just some really, you know, passionate people in that space, and cannabis as a medicine has been with humanity for 5,000 years. You can watch your nightly news and the 50, you know, pharmaceutical commercials you're gonna get subjected to. They're telling you, oh, by the way, this might kill you or cause loss of limb and whatever other ailments. Don't take it if you're allergic to it. How you're not supposed to know if you're allergic to it until you take it.
Very true.
And meanwhile, cannabis, our federal government in their wisdom, have this scheduled as a Schedule I narcotic per the Drug Enforcement Controlled Substances Act, which is saying it's more dangerous than fentanyl, more dangerous than opioids, more dangerous than heroin, more dangerous than ketamine. And all of these things, like, you know, again, nobody's ever, there's somebody calculated you'd have to physically eat 25 pounds, don't try this at home, of cannabis flower to actually die from an overdose.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
I think you would die from choking on it first.
I don't think you can pack that much into your body.
So, you know, I don't know. I mean, like, to me, it's like, it's about the relationships. It's about the experience. Like, this is why I think I've always really liked to focus on these kind of early market stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not a big corporation with unlimited resources. We're salt of the earth, small business people. And, you know, we like to treat people with, you know, great customer services you're not going to get from some company that just sees you as a cash flow mechanism to buy their next show.
Right.
You know, so I think it's important to both embed and care and understand your customers. That's why you're here.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And being very early, I mean, time over time, you're early to a space, and it's like, so it's
tough.
I mean, it's not just your awareness and exposure. It's you're dealing with regulation, and you're dealing with, you know, government. And, you know, it's.
I mean, listen, I was on a plane a week and a half ago. There's 3 markets that have actually set up a good regulatory structure around hemp products and hemp beverages, Georgia being one of them. And we decided to do the event there. You know, we've been in contact with the Department of Agriculture. We've got some counsel that is reviewing the rules and regulations so that we can have a normal adult beverage event where people can sample infused products, right? Like go to a beer show, you're sampling beer. You go to a wine show, you're sampling wine, right? You're small sips.
Right.
You know, you got some people there watching out for people being overserved.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of other events that have kind of put these little hemp beverage pavilions in them, they put baby in the corner, they don't allow them to sample when everybody else gets to sample. So that's kind of key to what we're doing. But I'm on a plane and somebody decides to slip a bill into the Georgia State Senate to ban hemp beverages, right?
Oh my gosh.
So now, I'm like, all right, well, do we need to go to one of these other markets? The bill's actually in the House right now, and it's expected to either be re-amended back to kind of establish back to those guidelines, or just get killed before the end session and just let it die in session here. So, like, you know, I mean, working with those types of regulatory conditions, with the cannabis space, everybody's in their state market. So we're trying to build a national consumer packaged goods show for an industry that doesn't have a national market, right? So these are the things that make me an idiot and question my judgment.
No, but also the other side of that, you're a champion in an underserved market. So, you know, everybody needs a champion. So, you know, it's
and Rich and I have been talking. We're going to be bringing the World Cocaine Expo to Miami, Florida soon.
That's already
There won't
happened.
be booths. There'll just be glass tables.
Straight shot from Colombia to Miami. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, and so you already talked about the, you know, later this year and what you're doing, you know, launching that show. And so are you looking at other markets for 2026? And are you looking to expand on the events that you're already doing?
Yeah, I think we really want to find ways that we can deliver more value, more services to the communities we're already serving and that we're building those relationships with. You know, again, you know, been at this for a while. We've known each other for a minute. I mean, it's been 30 years of building shows up from the ground up. So, you know, I mean, when I stood up and I said I'm the CEO of our intergalactic division, because everybody here works for like North, the
Right.
North American division, or their HR group manager and stuff. Like we're just small business people that are trying to be of service, create value, and hopefully make economic gain as a result of that value we deliver. In the early stage markets, there's so many people in and out, and it's a little bit of chaos. So it's hard to maybe have that type of staying power with relationships. But I mean, this is what wakes us up. Like when our customers come up and say, "I did more business in the first 2 hours of your show than I did it all week at these other 5 shows I did."
Yeah.
That fills our tip bucket, right? That's
absolutely.
our tip jar. We get to watch how trade shows can provide transformational events to people's lives, and not just the people that are there for their business. It's their employees, it's their families, it's their kids, it's their dog. Might get to go to the dog day spa once in a while, right?
Yeah. So, what is the? You've been coming to SISO for some years, and wearing a few different organizations. And what's one of the value takeaways from SISO from this event?
For us, I mean, it's been almost an 8-year hiatus. I was doing some stuff in the consumer media space for a bit, and we were kind of building this up through the pandemic, and I didn't feel like there was much value to come here. I mean, I think the big thing is that, we're building this as an asset. We eventually would like to, be able to sell it to a company that could bring some efficiency in, and also kind of provide some retirement comfort for my wife and I. So, this is a place where you can have those higher level conversations. Having spent 20, 30 years here, it's like, I come in this year, I'm getting a chance to say hi to a lot of old friends, let them know we're still in the market, tell them a little bit about the events we have going on, get them on the radar. Next year we'll come back, we'll hopefully have a couple awards for some of the fastest growing shows in the industry. And then we'll come back the following year, and at that point,
maybe someone will want to
sit back and say, all right, no. I just want, at the end of the day is, and having exited a couple companies, to us, I think one of the big things is finding the right partner that's going to steward that community well. You see it time and time again, bigger companies come in, buy smaller companies, and they kind of lose that love and feeling, right? Somebody's kind of trying to create a cookie cutter onto an industry that might have some unique need sets.
Right. And being that it's such an underserved market, it doesn't fall into the fold of anything else. It's like definitely there's a lot of people there that are gonna depend on that growth. So it's you're right. It's not cookie
when
cutter.
we did the off-price show, a lot of our exhibitors told us that they did about 80% of their annual sales volume at our trade show, 2 trade shows a year. And the reason why is because in that particular case, they're buying odd job lots. So whatever they have in their warehouse, that goes. So they stock up their warehouses, they come to our show, they know they're meeting with hundreds of buyers, and they're writing orders at the show. And it was huge for them because for them to sit at their office and call the buyers, we time it obviously with buying cycles with the buyers. The cannabis industry doesn't have a buying cycle. I mean, there's Croptober where a lot of the fresh, outdoor grown flower comes to market. Most of it's grown indoors, so it doesn't really have a huge impact. But I just don't think they have necessarily the retail discipline levels that a mature industry would have, right? Where you have a seasonal market, merchandise review. And but this is the fun of it. We get to watch all that stuff, kind of happen, right?
For sure. Well, thank you so much for doing this today.
Hey, thank you.
Great talking to you, man.
All right, Rich, thank you so much. See you in Miami, World Cocaine Expo 2026.